Initially, I wanted to make a film about the rich and poor and about wealth discrepancy. And, in the beginning, it's not as perfectly formed. It's kind of more of this organic process where it's just that's one of the things that I'm thinking about. And over a few months, all of a sudden you start realizing that there could be an interesting sort of science fiction setup in that. I started thinking about how you could visually differentiate those two polar opposites. I've always been obsessed with this image that Sid Mead did for National Geographic I think in the 70s. That's an orbital torus space station. And one day it just kind of clicked. This could be the rich, Earth could be the poor. The idea of sort of Beverly Hills in space was this kind of slightly satirical, interesting way of portraying those two worlds. So that's how it really began to move forward.
The pre-production period was quite long, so during that time, I was helping Neil do a lot of development for the script and research and that sort of thing. And because the world of Elysium was so dense, it took him a good year just to develop the script.
For me, it's very much not a situation where you finish the script and then you move into pre-production. It's a case of, while I'm writing the script, I'm doing design work and fleshing out ideas and sort of storyboards, and everything happens at once, like in this sort of tumble dryer of mixed ideas.
He treats science fiction not as an imaginary world, but as a real world. Everything has to have a sort of authenticity and organic feel to it and functionality that is no different than if we were to build a bridge or a highway or a building or design a whole city. That's the way he approaches it, with a serious of mind and purpose that somebody would if they had to live in it.
There's different types of directors, some that are interested in the design process and some that aren't. And Neil is definitely interested in the design process, and he's kind of the hub to all of our creative departments. He is in the centre there. He drives a lot of it. He's incredibly interested in the process, to the point where Neil is writing the script, he'll have concept illustrators or just illustrators creating a graphic novel that give us the basic parameters of our world. It won't necessarily be what ends up on screen, but it'll give us a flavour.
Design for Neil on any of his films is such a huge part of the filmmaking process. We had Weta on board for about a year before any other crew members started, just designing and preparing different elements.
Neil used the designers at Weta to have a visual aid as he was developing the script. So there was an immense amount of design work done. I think they got up to around 2,000 artworks during that period.
As the designers and Neil start to collaborate and come up with this plan for what this film is going to look like, we also get involved as far as how these things would actualize within the practical sense. So pre-production for us is about helping these designs come to life.
Sometimes you get back concept work and it actually influences how some of the script can play out because there's certain visual ideas that are more interesting. So a lot of that happened. I didn't necessarily have this clean break where you go script into pre-production. It's a very fluid, morphing sequence.
It's a film about haves and have-nots, and how do we portray that on screen? The Earth stuff's fairly easy. It's down, it's dirty. The space stuff it's all high concept, and for me, it's contrast between two worlds. Clean surfaces in space, down here it is grotty, but both have to feel real to the audience. Both have to be anchored in reality in some way.
Figuring out how to bring those two worlds to life, automatically you assume you can't film Elysium. It doesn't exist. So you know right off the bat that a huge percentage of that is going to be visual effects or it's going to be stage work in sets. Impoverished future Earth, then you start becoming limited. Then the cities start to narrow themselves down. It has to feel somewhat American, so it's battered down and hammered and financially decrepit, but still has traces of North America in it. It's hot, it's this arid climate. I had hundreds and hundreds of photos up on my office wall with my production designer, just trying to figure out where the city actually was.
I'd spent a lot of time in Mexico City, so I suggested we come down here. So I did a lot of research, pulled out old photos of mine and stuff off the net and showed them, and this place works perfectly as LA. It has the hills, it has the flat land, it has the population. In my world, the slums of Mexico City are Los Angeles' future. So it was a perfect basis to come and build upon.
Phil actually kept saying Mexico City, and I was averse to something about it. And then we went on a location scout there and looked around. And the second we got into the favelas and looked around, I knew it would be perfect for the film. So that kind of solved that problem, which was like, how do you do future LA? For Elysium, really what you want to do is find a place that has really good crews and that has some form of rebate. You also need some expensive mansions that you can shoot, you know, the interiors of the mansions, and then as you step outside, it becomes visual effects. And so Vancouver seemed like an obvious choice. We set about like starting to build the sets in Vancouver, shoot Vancouver first, and then start prep in Mexico, and then go over to Mexico and finish the film there.
Pre-production has gone fantastic. We've had a really healthy amount of time to develop the movie, to do all the research and development necessary, because there's a ton of things in this film that have never been in movies before, from props to prosthetics, things that took, you know, a lot of time to conceive and then even more time to create. And they were being created all over the world. Some stuff was happening in Vancouver. A lot of stuff was happening in New Zealand with the guys at Weta. So we needed this time, and it's been a really productive time.
For me, I'm handling the Max character in its entirety. So I'm handling Matt's makeup all the way through. That is a real challenge. He's playing a lot of days. I'm not sure what the ultimate count is, but it's up in like the 60s. And every day he's on, he's going to be wearing prosthetic elements, tattoo elements, and this Hulk suit, which is connecting in with the prosthetic elements.
The thing that scares me the most about this movie is the Hulk suit. If we can get that right, it's fantastic. It could be as iconic as anything you've ever seen in a movie, in science fiction action movie before. But if that thing falls apart one day, God forbid, you know, we lose a day of photography. And if that thing is extremely uncomfortable, it's going to be tough for him to do the kind of action and acting we want him to do.
It's going good. You look like a badass. For what it is, it feels incredible, and I feel I can,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, I think the vibe is correct. I think it's cool. Yeah. Yeah, no, it looks awesome. It looks really cool.
They've done amazing work at Weta, building it and testing it, but you never know until you get there on the day.
You're like, damn.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, no, it's really
The mobility is nuts. Can you live in that, dude, for the next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep. You can work on it tonight.
Yeah. You can just wear. You can just take
I
it to
was
West
way
Bay.
ahead. When you showed me the book, man, that was the first thing I had. I was like, you know, a year ago I asked myself that question.
Yeah.
The gantry fight, that will be our biggest challenge. So far, we've only had 2 Hulk suits working. That's Max and his stunt double. For the gantry, we'll have 4, because we've got Kruger and Kruger double, and they're fighting each other. And it's a challenging set as well, and the fight is going to be extremely physical. We feel like we're well prepared for it. At the same time, they're going to do plenty of damage to the gear.
I love this thing so much. It's so ridiculous. So much I love it. So fresh and new also compared to Max. Yeah, it is totally awesome. All right, cool. Well, it looks outstanding.
We've had a long period of gestation. We'll have a long period of shooting in post. I just think all of that's going to give us the best chance of making a great movie.
We started filming Elysium in July 2011 and we finished December 2011. Altogether we were shooting just over 14 weeks. Physical production started in Vancouver and we were there for 55 shoot days.
This is the CCB control room. It's a NASA-style control room. 10 desks here with minions who control Elysium itself. We're standing on the gantry where the end fight happens, the large fight between Max and Kruger. It's all part of the interconnected web that is the CCB. We're in the armory. This room is a cross between a med bay and a weapons armory. Also scene of the large fight between Max and Crow and Dre. We're in the mill here. This is where all the magic happens. The guys at the moment are making all the consoles for the control room, generators for the gantry, all sorts. I couldn't tell you what half the stuff is.
Well,
Oh, sorry, I wish I had more to do for you guys today. I start here.
Well, day one in production was kind of unique because we shot the first couple of days where Max, in his house, waking up, that first morning where you meet him. That was a set in Vancouver, but we shot a lot of drama.
Day one.
I think my biggest concern getting into production was schedule and just time. I'm gonna stay here for this first one.
Okay.
Just see how it goes. You can only measure yourself and time yourself based on experience that you've had, right? If you're going into uncharted territory, you start rolling the dice a little bit. Action! And a lot of the photography that I was experienced with before, the lighting was a lot more natural, the camera work was loose and kind of run and gun. And that applies to the Mexico portion of Elysium, but not the Elysium portion of Elysium. I wanted the photography to be similar, like not distracting in the film, but different. And so the approach was to have Earth-based photography be handheld only, and to have Elysium be this much more gliding, smoother stuff, and also to inject as much cinematic lighting in the Elysium environment. And so in that uncharted territory for me of doing, you know, a large-scale film with a slightly more polished edge worried me a little bit with the schedule.
Okay, cool. Cut. Cut. Okay, moving on to the...
You know, going into the shoot, I just needed to know I was going to make my days, and I just kind of try to move quickly through them as much as I could.
Ready? Hey, get away. What happened? So fucking stupid, man. All right.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, great.
So today is day one, and we've just gone from the Max healthy look into moving into the Max sick look, and that involves some silicone eye bags.
So I think it's pretty good. We're just gonna leave it like that.
Usually we blend this off, but I think we're gonna leave it. It looks pretty good, Matt. What do you think?
It's like a movie. It's in the future.
And we'll just do one.
I think it's
one.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I got more irradiated
Exactly.
on
It
the
makes
left
sense.
side.
It makes sense to me. Everything is starting to work out as we're getting to put these things on the actors and seeing that these actors are feeling good and they're looking good. It's like such a relief for us to see that the planning, things are actualizing in a positive way. Neil is happy. We're getting things on camera, and so we're establishing things and fine-tuning every single day. How you feeling? Are you feeling like shit?
No, it's great.
Okay.
It looks just horrible. It's great. Done.
Even with the best of actors, with the best of scripts, which we really had on this film, you just never know until you show up on the first day. You never know if it's just going to take. It's like any relationship. You could just feel it on that first day of being on set that Matt had completely inhabited this character.
They can fix this on Elysium. I have to get to Spider.
Take it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, just bring it down back to reality.
I gotta see Spider.
Max, like, seriously, you have to take this. Okay, take it. Okay. Let's go.
Okay, cut.
Welcome to the future. We're standing in the parole office where Max comes for a parole hearing. It's a system of automated parole bots. You come through, grab a ticket, grab a seat. The number will be called up on the screen. From there, you head up to your booth where you have an interview with an automated parole bot.
That's cool. Pretty depressing. That's right.
We thought it'd be interesting to have a scene where Max has to go to his parole officer and deal with being a parolee. Just the frustration of that, the drudgery of it, having to wait in line. And Neil said, oh, I have an idea, I'm gonna go. But he got excited and he's like, I'm gonna go write the scene. So he wrote the scene. I was in London at the time, I remember it so vividly, and he emailed me the scene. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning London time, and I opened the scene. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. And it's so far beyond my wildest expectation for the scene. It's so, it does so many different things. It's funny, it's dark, it's depressing, it's weirdly uplifting, it's very science fiction, and yet it's very human. It's that kind of excitement where it's like you have an idea, and it's even just sometimes the kernel of an idea, and you see it grow and grow and grow.
When it looks at him, do it quite quickly, like as quickly as you can turn it towards him. I just don't want it too far off. Yeah.
And action.
No, I don't do anything like that. I don't. Really.
in the control room today. I'm very happy to be shooting in this set. We started designing this set over a year ago. Started with a submit illustration. It's not every day you get to paint a set black. It usually freaks out the director of photography. The set glows once it's lit properly, all the LED lighting, the way it hits the facets, you get to see every detail.
Okay, here we go. Ready and background action.
Evacuate everyone under level 5 clearance out of the building now.
We are standing in the med bay / armory of the CCB. This room serves a variety of purposes. It's an armory, med lab, as you see, a locker room for the soldiers. It connects to a whole variety of corridors and airlocks that lead to the rest of the CCB.
Working with Matt has been a pleasure. And we're just 3 weeks into this, and I am impressed. I am really proud of him. He's throwing every part of himself at it. He allows us the time we need to do what we have to do.
Boom! Way out there, and cut. And that will take us into Tuesday. I just took 5 micro-roll. I mean, it's on.
Yeah, things are really happening.
Should we set the first shot up?
Okay. All right.
He's up for anything. We're strapping 25 pounds to him every day, putting him in a ridiculously tight undersuit. We're gluing stuff to him and serious smearing dirt and blood all over him. He just knows it's all a part of the process. He's extremely professional. He's got a great nature and sense of humor, and he's just up for it. And he needs to be. It's a physically demanding character.
So on the other side, it's like this, boom, like that. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, let's try that. So if you start there.
So I'll just come to your left the whole time, and then I won't.
Most actors only see the script from the point of view of their character, and it's so myopic that they don't see how the ripple effect of every decision they make sort of goes out to the rest of the script. And Matt is someone who both understands, obviously, the point of view of his character, but also understands how every decision we make on one page ripples into every other page. So you get the shorthand of working with another writer in the room.
No, what's up with this? Ready and action!
My favorite prop would have to be the Hulk suit. It's the most challenging thing I've ever been involved in. You know, and it's about a year's work to get it onto Matt. And now that he's wearing it, and we're into some early action with him, it's really exciting to see him running around in it, see him fighting in it.
Ready and action.
What we're doing right now is this is the part where Crow is going to die. What Neil wants here is something so violent that he smashes all the way through the floor. So we've created some tiles in this floor section that we replaced. And we're going to smash this dummy in and have debris and dust and stuff come flying out. In the end, he's dead, and then we carry on and throw him against the wall.
And 3, 2, 1, go! 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, cut. Yeah, that'll work.
And rehearsal cut.
No one believed us when we told them at the beginning of this film that he would do 2 rehearsals and 2 takes and then move on, that he was that efficient. Traditionally, it doesn't work like that in films like this, but he's that kind of guy. He knows what he wants.
3, 2, 1, go! 3, 2, 1, go!
The film's edited in his head. If you have a conversation with him like about a specific thing, like what do you think about this? If we do it this way, he'll go, hang on, give us a sec. You'll see him play the film in his head.
And the second that gun runs out, he gets this one. He sees you pulling the handgun. He gets back.
Couple more shots?
No, like 6 shots. Handgun, 8 shots, like roof or top plus drawers.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10 shots, right? From you.
Yeah.
And then play like now you've got to reload that gun. Yeah. And in that beat, he just unloads on you.
2 seconds later, he'll give you a concise answer, and he generally sticks to it. And he does make changes, but they're generally for the good of the film, and you can't deny him that. Yeah, everyone's behind him. Everyone loves working for him. It's a good thing.
We're going to have 2 sections of squibs in here, one from his SMG fire and one from his handgun fire. First 4 lockers are going to go, blowing all the debris out in this direction. Same thing as we've done in the last couple of shots here. And now that we're turning around, everyone's in this room here. That room will be very loud. There's lots of hits going off in there. They're in little metal containers and very loud in that room. That's basically the same thing we're doing with the last man.
That was one of the best safety movies. Let's clap it out. Come on.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1, action.
Shall we dance?
Pull it out.
All right, boys.
The gantry fight, which was 4 Hulk suits, and it was wet. Those guys were going hard at it and just destroying the suits. It was constant maintenance, constantly trying to keep the standard high.
This is ground zero. I felt it, so I can't.
I wanted Kruger to be proficient in almost any kind of martial art. And I wanted Max to be just like a street brawler. They just grew up in a lot of fights, really, like a thug. And so like on the gantry, you kind of see a lot of that, where everything Matt is doing is just almost like just stand up like boxing.
You could be trying to grab it, like you can feel what he's holding on to. So, yeah, right.
When Max gets irradiated, I think that was one of the very few scenes in the film where we actually had to do a night shoot. We shot inside a factory in Vancouver, and we had to work around the factory. We'd come at the end of the day, and we shot there for, I think, 3 or 4 days. So it was just working around the factory's hours and making sure that we could get everything that we needed in the time that was allotted for us.
The thing's jammed. Let me I mean, either you go in there right now, or I'll find someone who will. Come on, man. And you can go clean out your locker.
There's definitely something very comfortable about shooting in the place that you're from, for sure. You know a lot of the crew. I just generally felt comfortable, you know. But then in Mexico, I felt comfortable as well. Like the crews were unbelievably efficient. You can make a film anywhere. I mean, it's not, you know, it doesn't have to be your hometown.
Neil decided he wanted to shoot in the second largest landfill in the world in Mexico. So each day we took 100 to 150 crew to and from set, working in a landfill.
This is our first day. I have this shitty little protecting layer here because this location is fucking terrible. And then we have hardened New Zealanders like Phil.
I've been here a few days.
Refuse to take the necessary precautions. You start arriving on set before the sun comes up, and we drove in there the first day for, you know, a 2-week shoot in the garbage dump. And with this very minor amount of dawn light, you could just see this sort of shape of garbage everywhere around you. In the early dawn hours is actually when it smells the worst. I had a brief moment where I was like, I literally can't, I'm unable to do this. Like, I actually can't film in this environment with the smell, and like, it was so overpowering. And then by 9 or 10 a.m., the smell would be mostly evaporated, and you'd be focusing on the work, and you'd be fine, you know, for the rest of the day. And that happened for, you know, the 2 weeks that we were in there.
So that's the first setup then. It's going to be driving in to land the cars into position. I think we have them roughed in a little bit, but we might have to tweak them a bit. Okay, let's get to work.
What's up, man? How are you? Good.
Hey, bro. Welcome to paradise.
I love it, man.
And action. Action, Adrian.
And bam, so cut there.
Okay, we'll be an hour and a half setting this up. Okay, there's the first setup. Will be 20 minutes while Matt goes and gets changed. Let's get.
I always had this idea of almost like a dried up lake bed that in the film would be on the outskirts of LA, and then this kind of garbage dump next to it. So he's dragged him to here, and it's like this kind of thing, and just as he starts getting ready, the second one goes off. Everything that takes place on Earth, which in this case is Mexico, is shot exclusively with handheld cameras. And the way that we light shots as well is also a little bit different. They tend to be slightly less cinematically lit. They're a lot more naturalistically lit, and they definitely move differently. They move in a very organic, handheld way. Hide again, 60 rounds. And then as we come up with the AK, we cut.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So right now Matt comes up, that mortar goes off. So now we start here. He comes up again, and now the droid's coming at him. He tries to clear it, and as he's trying to clear it, it just shreds the hood and everything, and he dives back.
Neil shot District 9 in Soweto, and for the most part in South Africa. He and I went to South Africa to shoot a few scenes for the very end of this film. And I didn't totally get what I now get being in Mexico shooting for a prolonged period of time, which is that the chaos and struggle, and in some ways the danger even, informs and infects the movie. So that it's not just in the performances, but it's in everything.
I am actually going to go with you guys. I just realized that's going to look really good with this camera. So like I will actually run with you.
Okay. Ready and action!
We gotta go faster! I got the door!
Mexico City has so many similarities to Johannesburg, and I kind of thrive on this sort of environment. I feel like I grew up in a place that I was always interested in this part of it. So what it does is it feels like it reinforces it. Dude, that's like a full-on dust storm. That is the insanity of shooting in a landfill in Mexico City.
When I see him come there, and how fast is he going?
He's gonna be going about 50.
Okay. Yeah, all right, boom. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. you know, all of us were wearing our respirators and he was down in the dirt. Like, it is true. Like, the actors were the ones who got hit the hardest because, I mean, obviously, they're the ones not wearing protection.
Are you shooting the garbage vortex?
Two of these go. I just want.
We got some good height.
Ready and action! Okay, let's check the gate on that.
Yeah. Nice one, guys.
Well done, Joe.
The gag looked pretty good, Joe.
Great.
Yeah. It's good. Max's Hulk suit was one of those things that worked surprisingly well. Given how complex I thought it was going to be, it's been not a headache when I had anticipated it being a major problem. Here we go again. See, this, dude, this is the last day that we're at the second biggest landfill in Mexico City, and it's getting difficult.
My frame is so tight.
I just
This is
stand
one of
here.
those over-the-shoulders.
So I should just stand in the same place.
Just make it into the shot. That acting's really good. Too bad it's not on screen.
I wish that was on the behind the scenes.
Oh, it's right there. I made sure that was on there, dude.
Ready and action!
Dean said that one was better. Apparently you were in it.
Was I in it? Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay, guys, that's it. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
All right.
Spider's factory was a location I found over a year ago. It's an old factory where they made wallpaper paste. It's covered in graffiti. It's got rubble all over the ground. It's like, this is perfect. But as a base layer, location was perfect. It was gold. Bring in the TVs, bring in the machinery, hang some drapes. It's there.
And action!
Rico! Fire up the shuttle!
We are going up.
This is one of like 2 days
That's right.
in this movie that Matt.
Well, no,
is
we
in.
have a makeup change later.
Oh God, that's right. All right. Well, this
It's one of 2 mornings.
2 mornings, we should say, yeah.
I don't even have to do the arm tattoos today. It's just neck tattoos.
Oh God, unbelievable.
Start to get up now, Matt. And cut.
This is the last day that Matt has on set. It's his last day of the Hulk suit as well. When we first got the brief from Neil, it's very difficult to imagine how we were going to execute it so it didn't slow up production. Matt could keep his mobility, how we could actually shoot the action that's in the film with this difficult costume prop in conjunction with prosthetics. And yeah, the plan came off great.
And cut.
This has been another awesome ride with Blomkamp. We're fucking tired, but we are high as can be just from the whole experience.
When I was in my 20s, I felt like I had this kind of very chaotic, unstructured bunch of images and concepts in my mind that I felt like I really wanted to turn into a film. I find that my ability to kind of take those ideas and congeal them down into something that I can kind of manage has become better, thank God. But definitely it starts with science fiction and it starts with imagery and concepts, and from there it turns into characters, and then it turns into like, what are you saying? How do you want to take those images and those concepts and actually have something mildly worthwhile underneath them so it isn't just pure popcorn? Even though the popcorn, guns, and explosion part is probably 51% more interesting to me.
I don't think anyone really understood how huge a challenge post-production was going to be on Elysium. Neil, as the director, is trying to come up with a place that doesn't exist, but trying to also make it 100% real.
Yeah, at the end of production, everybody was feeling really good about the movie. I've never felt that good about a film, and just feeling as though we captured the essence of what Neil's script had, which was something really special and really challenging and ambitious. But you never know until you actually see at least the first assemblage of the film.
The whole time you're shooting, you're assembling a rough cut as you go, day by day. So theoretically, by the final day of photography, you have a film that is assembled that's probably going to be way too long in running time.
When we were shooting in Vancouver, he was literally, most of the time shooting on the stage below, and then upstairs was editorial. And we were basically editing pretty much like always exactly like 1 day behind what production was shooting. And so Neil could come up, see what we were working on.
And even watching every day of dailies, you just don't know how it's all going to assemble together and feel like a coherent whole. And probably the biggest challenge of this movie is it takes place in two very different worlds, with different vibes, with different aesthetics, with different camera choices and looks. So until we saw it together, we just didn't know.
Clearly there's a different shooting aesthetic, and that is kind of mirrored in the editing aesthetic as well. Earth is very gritty, it's more improvisational, it's dirtier, and kind of you're getting a lot more of this sort of documentary kind of photography where it's sort of like a B camera picked up a sort of an interesting extra by the side of the road, and you kind of throw that in there. And so you get this detail and this sort of messiness of the third world planet Earth situation. And then on Elysium, you have less aggressive cutting, and that kind of matches the sort of architecture you get inside the CCB, which is like a very clean aesthetic as well.
Your entire mental direction just shifts to editing. Everything becomes about editing and getting visual effects shots out to the VFX companies and staying on target, and also just creatively, like being excited to kind of hone it into what, it originally you had thought up.
Spaceship.
About a month into post-production, we brought Dave Whitehead, our sound designer, over to Vancouver from New Zealand. Neil would be going in, sitting in with him every single day, listening to sounds and coming up with the sound palette of every single sound that you hear in the film.
Quite soon after getting into editing, we bring Dave out and he just works for months. We would have a very well thought out and very complex library of sounds that we could draw from. On top of that, I think you should have like a power up, and then it's running.
Sure.
And then when he finishes shooting, like a second or two after he finishes, it powers down.
When you're starting off with a new sound, you throw the obvious things in there. And then you develop a shape for the move of whatever the object is, or whatever the tech is, or whatever the vehicle is. And then you throw in not so obvious sounds. Sounds that could be sound-alikes, or sounds that could just evoke a feeling of what you're going for. I don't think you necessarily need to have the sound of the object. You have something that tells you this is, the feeling of the sound.
He spent many weeks recording different odd things, or electric buses, or ski boots for the droid footsteps. And he put all those together in a session, which was sort of the basis of the whole mix.
Max's suit, less high-tech, definitely just hydraulics and kind of metal clunky and that sort of thing, going back to that whole low-tech idea of the Earth technology. So the flip side of that for Kruger's exosuit was complete high-tech. He had high-tech servos, linear actuators, even the metal sounded a bit more pristine. Just the difference really had to be exactly the same as we had it for the sound of Earth and the sound of Elysium. It was definitely just grunge and high-tech, and really trying to explore that to the extreme with all the tech, and the suits was definitely an example of that.
He'd be doing design 30 feet away from where I was editing, so I'd step out of my office and he would be miking a remote control helicopter to use for the UAV sounds. And so there wasn't this feeling that sound and editorial being super separated, which is, quite often the case. He could come in and say, I'm doing these robot footsteps, and if you take 6 frames off this shot, then the robot's footsteps are going to kind of be in the right rhythm or something like that. I'm like, okay, I think I could take 6 frames off that, sure. It was a nice way of working.
Working with Julian, we took all of the sounds that we were working on and gave it to him so he could have it while they were working on the picture edit, so that we could start a back and forth conversation, and they would put the track in and they could say, oh, this stuff is working great here. but maybe over here we could use something else that works better with the music.
Craig had been working on the movie for a year, so he really knew what we were getting at and what the decisions that we'd already kind of made about the sort of sonic aesthetic of the movie. And so when we got to the mixing stage, it was kind of just like this super clean transition.
I almost think out of the entire film, the most smooth running department was sound. It was the most absolutely stress-free, smooth gliding area of making this film.
I started my own avenue into film trailer music because it's the next stepping stone in epic music, the kind of music I like to write, you know, with big orchestras and bombastic drums and things like that. And Neil apparently had come across one of those tracks that a fan had put up on YouTube.
I spend a lot of time just listening to music and finding random stuff on the web, and I came across a track that he'd written. It had the elements that I was looking for, and I just felt like if someone was able to write that one track, they would be able to write everything else that I wanted them to do.
And that's what prompted him to email me and ask, you know, he sent the link and said, you know, is this you? And it was my YouTube link that was there that a fan had posted of my music. That's how he discovered me, basically. And, you know, after hearing it, I guess he heard something that resonated with him.
So the fact that Ryan was inexperienced didn't really factor into it. If he was able to write the piece that I heard, I thought that you could extrapolate that across an entire film.
I didn't see the script, I didn't see any footage, and I think he wanted it that way. He purposely said, just go and write, you know, sit in your room, this is the premise of the film. Whatever your mind sees, whatever comes out musically, just write. And it was very liberating to have that approach.
Working with Ryan's score was great in that we had all of his music available to us early on, which is unusual for a lot of films. You usually end up near the end of the process having that and, you know, finding out your stuff doesn't work with his. So we had his material there and we could listen to it as we were editing and as we were mixing it together.
And so that kind of process of kind of us kind of playing around with the stuff that he had kind of composed sort of separate to picture and then kind of showing him and kind of kicking it back to him, it really worked having him in the same city and the same office as where we were editing.
So it was this combination of getting to approach it at the beginning without seeing anything and just imagining it in my mind and then getting to see part of the picture and then realize, oh, okay, I was going down the wrong path here. Let me pull it back in, but still use some of those concepts that I came up with and now go down this other path now that I've seen what it looks like and what I think will work better.
The challenge of post-production was not necessarily knitting the two worlds of Elysium and Earth together, but more knitting the genres together so that we had the drama playing as emotionally and as heavy as it needs to be in certain areas, having the comedy be light and fun and human in the areas it needs to be, and then obviously having the huge action set pieces work as well.
Working with Neil is great, and he has such strong ideas about how he wants things to sound that he puts it out to us at the beginning. You know, almost like a challenge in some ways. He's consistent, but lets us do what we do as well at the same time.
He really lets you experiment and play first, and then he gives the notes. It really feels like you are designing and you are contributing to a great piece of cinema.
You're encompassing so many of these other disciplines in post. They're part of the choices you make while you're editing. You're making these decisions as you're going, so kind of isolating them is sort of counterintuitive. It makes sense actually to really include these parts in the editing process.
I feel like the world that was meant to have been created, this kind of future Earth, and then this small jewel of wealth that's been extracted and that hovers around the planet. The rendering and the portrayal of those two places, that's what I think I'm most proud of. As a theatrical cinematic experience, to be taken to that place, because I like films that take me somewhere. And I feel like that's the film's biggest accomplishment.